Hi, this is Denise Rogers. I'm Kara Smulovitz. We are going to talk to you about number 3 in our Formidable 5 series. As a reminder, the Formidable 5 are 5 artworks that are really important for understanding contemporary art. Each one has a concept in it that will help you understand contemporary art in general. So number 3 is by Kehinde Wiley. It's called Woman Bitten by a Snake from 2008. Want to say anything before I show them?
I think the image will say
Speaks for
that.
itself.
Yes, it does. Okay.
Let me move us. Oh, let's see how do we look on this body? No, it doesn't work. Never mind. Let me get rid of it. Oops. Okay, we are hidden now. So here is this oil painting, which let me just show you how big it is, because I think that's important. So see those real human beings there. You can see the scale. You want to start?
Sure. So I guess I can start by asking you a question because with Kehinde Wiley, he makes several historical references in his paintings. Sometimes they're direct copies of art historical kind of iconic paintings, and sometimes they're multiple references. But how do you interpret or kind of understand the contrast between the male and the background? Or do you see the reference that he's making?
Well, for me, well, I see a lot of references that he's making. I mean, one thing is when I look at that face with his lips parted and the way that he's like flung his arm over, I get this kind of cultural dissonance in my brain because we almost only see images of women's bodies like that. And so that's kind of a surprise. And then also I see all those flowers in the background and it reminds me of different images from art history that I'm familiar with, but when I see them, they're almost always images of white men, usually in a more powerful position, or you see a white woman who's prone, who's laying out. So this thing of having a black man who's prone in front of that kind of background, it creates this really interesting thing where it goes against all the expectations that I've built up.
There's this contrast between masculinity, strong masculine forms, and feminine forms, and also you mentioned great leaders with these types of backdrops, images of power. And so the question is, what happens when he brings them all together in one painting? What's the result? And it kind of disrupts our understanding of forms of representation in popular culture as well as in art history, because we're not used to seeing them in this way.
So this is one of the concepts that Denise and I are interested in, because one of the things that art can do is make the viewer act like almost a cultural detective, where you're trying to chase down all these references. It's sort of like in a song when they use a lot of samples, and then each sample in the song points you back to another song from the past, and then you have to think, well, what did that one mean, and what does it mean in this new context?
Right.
So this painting kind of does that for me. I chase down all of these references. Is that right? I know there's no right way.
No, there's no right way. And then what new meaning is he creating when he brings those references together? And how does that change your perception of those images from the past as well?
Right.
And then again, you can start with, because the male is the focal point of the image and the way that he's presented in this way. I'm not going to give the references, but you can go into several different directions with the way the body is portrayed. And then you go back to the scale of the image. Why are they so big? Why does he almost confront you with this image? And then you can do the same thing with the way the flowers are falling in front of him. And again, there's no right answer, but what are the cultural references or historical references that you as a viewer connect with?
And so one question that I have for Denise, but also for students who are watching this, is why should an artwork get us to activate other parts of our knowledge? Like an artwork like this, we can't understand it unless we already have knowledge of other paintings, images of men, images of women, like we already have references. So why do artists do that?
Well,
don't you have all the answers?
Yes, exactly. Let's see. No, I honestly, I think that it can become a form of social protest, political protest. It can be a way of deconstructing preconceived ideas about Black masculinity, sexuality, both male and female sexuality, gender issues. I mean, artists want us to ask questions many times if they are creating a work where they want to have this dialogue with the audience. And then it ultimately changes the way you perceive others outside of the setting of a museum or a gallery when you see someone who's represented in the painting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's commentary for the masses, you could say, for popular culture.
So artworks that make cultural references or aggregate cultural references not only change how we see the artwork, but they help change how we see our own culture.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So we're about out of time. You have any last thing you want people to know about this concept?
Open your mind
Mm-hmm.
and be open to new ideas, new concepts, new forms of understanding.
I like that. I also think I'm going to go back to my detective metaphor. Let the artwork be like a puzzle you're working through, where you can use the things you already know and build up your own knowledge of popular culture, images you've seen, your own ability to judge somebody when you look at them, and then see how the painting is asking you to use all of those skills and rethink them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Good job, us. I think we cracked the code.
Hope so. It's
oh, wait,
complicated.
did I just restart it?